Today we're taking a look at Windsurf, which is a brand new AI coding editor by Codeium. And this is my first time trying it out, so we're going to start from scratch and see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are. This is what it looks like when we first open it up. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. It has a sort of familiar look and feel because it is based on VS Code, which I think is a good strategy by these AI companies. Building extensions, you're really limited in what you can do, but if you fork VS Code, then you can add a lot more flexibility to the AI editor, which is why they keep doing this kind of thing. So let me go ahead and create a new project. The application that I want to try to build is something a little bit like Discord or Slack. It's going to be a chat-based application with servers and channels, but I want it to be a little bit more minimal, have a little bit more of a retro sort of vibe where it's just like command line messages like IRC or something like that. So let's give a brief description to Windsurf and see how it tackles initiating a new project. Okay, I want to build an application that is similar to Discord or Slack, but much more minimal. It will have servers and channels, and you can send messages on those channels and switch between them in a sidebar. I want to use Vite React with TypeScript. All right. Okay, Cascade changes are saved to your files. You can continue your workflow to review them whenever you're ready. Okay. All right, so it's asking me if I want to run this command. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's try to run it. Okay. Package was not found, will be installed. All right, looks like it ran into some error when trying to run that command. Okay, so it looks like it assumed that it was successful, although this actually failed. Let me go ahead and try to run this manually here. I'm going to open up the terminal. Okay, there. I just created this folder on my own. Now it wants to install Chakra UI. I actually want to use shadcn instead of Chakra. Okay, looks like it's waiting for a response, so I either have to accept or reject it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel, and then I will tell it that I want to use shadcn instead of Chakra. Okay. Looks like it failed to run CD. That's kind of strange. I mean, I definitely have CD here. I can run it. Okay. It just ran npm install in the parent directory, which is not really what I wanted. I guess I should have paid more attention to the path where it's trying to run that command. I'm going to delete that package lock. Okay, I'm going to stop it again because for some reason it's trying to initiate the Vite again, but I already have my UI folder here. Let's see if I can tag files. So I have already initialized my project and the UI is in the directories. Yes, okay, great. UI folder. So I can tag files just like Cursor. That's really nice. I'm just going to tell it to skip the shadcn stuff for now because I don't really need a design system just yet. Maybe we can just build some of the core functionality first. I guess I will ask it to add Tailwind just because it's sort of essential to make styling much easier. And by the way, it looks like it's using Claude Sonnet 3.5, which is definitely the best coding model that I've used. So it's cool that they have that flexibility here as well. Okay, it's writing a file. All right. Okay, so it looks like it's analyzing some files. This is interesting. It's actually exploring the file structure without me explicitly talking about it. So that's pretty nice. I could see that become potentially an issue on big code bases if it just randomly looks around your code and finds stuff that's similarly named, even if it's not really related. They do claim that it's supposed to actually be good at that sort of thing, but I guess I'll have to get a big code base and try it out to see if that's true. It does seem like it would be a challenge from a technical perspective. Okay, so it made 3 file changes here. Looks like there are some issues. Okay, here we go. These arrows will help me navigate across different files that got changed. That's pretty cool. And then I can either accept all the changes in this file or reject. I mean, this is a brand new file, so that makes sense. Here I can accept and reject. Very similar flow to what you would see in Cursor. Let's just go ahead and accept all, and then we'll see what happens from there. Okay. Okay, so there's a bunch of errors in these files. I'm just gonna try to describe what's going on to Windsurf, and we'll see if it can figure it out. I'll just ask without tagging them, and then we'll see if it can identify the files or if I need to be more explicit. Okay, so it knows what files I'm talking about. That's pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at that diff. Okay, let's, yes, I do need to install Tailwind, so let's run that command. Okay. Now it's configuring Tailwind config.js. Hey, this is pretty cool. I like how it's actually just creating these files when they don't exist. Like, it doesn't even ask me if I want to create them or not. It just goes for it. And that does actually speed things up a bit. Okay, we can check out these new files. That looks pretty good. Okay, it wants to install React Router DOM. Yep, let's do it. This is a pretty smooth experience in terms of like setting up and installing packages, because in Cursor you'd have to sort of copy the commands over into the terminal, then figure out what code do you need, create those files. They are adding features like that as well, so I do think this is a general direction that we see with some of these code editors, but it's pretty cool to see the process be so smooth. Okay, created a bunch of files for us, and now we get this pretty cool walkthrough. I wonder if the arrow keys work? No. So let's go ahead and take a look at these files. I mean, this looks fine. This, yeah, that looks good. All right, we're importing Tailwind. It's pretty nice. Okay, looks like we've basically accepted all those changes. Let's go ahead and run dev. Looks like it ran into some errors and it's not really recognizing what is wrong. Actually, you know what? This isn't an error. I think it actually did start, but this is an ongoing process, and now it's running in the terminal inside of this chat, which is kind of confusing. We really want it to just run sort of in the background here, so I'm gonna just start it up over here. I don't know how to stop this. Okay, cancel step. Hey, that's pretty good. So far I like how it's easy to just kind of go in and out of different things. It doesn't feel like I get totally stuck in any one place. That's pretty good. All right, let's check out our app. Hey, this is a pretty decent start. Okay, we got different servers, we got channels, and here's our little chat. I mean, for just coming out of the box, this is looking pretty good. All right, let's ask it to adjust this so that it's full width. Now I wonder if I should just keep going in this chat or when I should open a new one, because it does seem to be pretty good at keeping track of the context. I think now that I have the project initially set up here, I'm gonna go ahead and start a new chat. All right, here we go. New chat, and we got this component that created this chat area. All right, let's ask about this. Actually, before I give it that instruction, let me see what else works and doesn't work here. So it looks like we're using the path. We probably need /server/channel. And when I type a message, it doesn't seem to be sending. So I'll just give it a few different instructions, and this is something I typically do with Cursor. When there's smaller commands like that, I like to bundle them because it just helps me iterate more quickly. Keep in mind that doesn't work particularly well if you got multiple like complicated features or multiple files. But when you have a list of small things, I do think it helps to just list them all. All right, so I gave it a few instructions. Let's see if it can identify all the relevant files or if it's just going to focus on this chat area. Yeah, take a look at that. It automatically figured that it needs to look in this app TSX. That's really good. Okay. /general/general. I see. That maybe that's the default or something. Okay, let's go ahead and accept those changes. Let's take another look. Well, the chat still doesn't take up the right room. If I send a message though, it does actually add it here, which is nice. Now, if I switch between servers and channels, that still doesn't work. It's got an inline editor here. I find these don't really pick up the context very well. So I've tended to not use them as much as I use the sidebar in these AI apps. Maybe that was a little too much context all in one go. So let me try to simplify it a little bit. Let's focus on the navigation. And it looks like it has to do with this layout file, which it did not identify on its own. Let me just point that out, and maybe that will help. Okay, I'll tag the layout file. All right, it's got some changes. It's changing them to have these named IDs. Server ID /general. That doesn't look right to me. Okay, so I accepted those changes. Going here as I navigate, it still seems really confused. So let me just take a closer look at the code and see if I can figure out what's wrong. All right, so the server navigation works fine, but the channel navigation seems to set the server to undefined. Can you fix that? Okay, now it doesn't seem to be changing the channel name at all. It added this if server. Ooh, I just noticed something that I don't like very much, which is when I undo, it just undoes the changes. It doesn't show me what the diff was, which means that I'm gonna have to try to figure it out on my own. This is something I do like a lot more about Cursor. When I undo the AI changes, I see the diff so I can compare, and then I can undo again to make it go back to my original state, or I can redo and then I'm back to the AI version. This seems to skip that phase, so it's hard for me to tell what differences the AI actually applied. Okay, so I said, okay, I think there's an issue with the params. Now clicking does nothing because the server is always undefined. Let's check app TSX as well. I see layout component is outside of the routes, which means it can't access the URL parameters. Okay, that makes sense. Yep, I see the layout was on the outside. Makes sense. Okay. All right. Let's try that out. Okay, great. Now it looks like we are navigating to the correct location. Let's keep going with the messages. I'm going to open up a new chat just to reset the context. Okay, so right now our app successfully switches between servers and channels, but the messages and the chat are always showing up the same regardless of the channel. We want to actually connect it to our local database so that we can store the messages that we send, and then depending on the channel that you go to, be able to see the relevant messages on that channel. So that's what I'm telling it. I have Postgres, which is a SQL database, running on my computer, so I'm asking it to connect to that. This is an interesting request because it's going to require us to establish some environmental variables, write some code, and then actually test that connectivity. Oh, this is actually a really interesting point. I have not even created my server-side code yet, so it's going ahead and creating all of my backend here. This is really cool. It's establishing a Node.js backend for me here. That's awesome. Yep, let's, oh no, it ran into an issue again. Let me manually go to the server. Okay, let's just try that. Okay, there we go. It ran it. Let's look through the files. Okay. So it created this db.ts file, which is a good start. Let's go ahead and accept that. Yes, please go ahead and create an Express API endpoint, remember cores, and connect the UI to it. I think it's super cool that it just went ahead and created the backend for me. Like I didn't have to really initialize anything. It just, went through the commands. Wow, it's going through a lot of files to make these changes, and I didn't have to tag any of them. So that's pretty impressive as well. Let's just start taking a look through some of these. Okay, this is pretty standard Express API. We got a dependency here. Let's see if it tells us to run that. Did it update package just manually? Yeah, it did. Okay. Let's go ahead and run that npm install again. I like the interactivity, the back and forth. Like it asks me to take an action, and then I do something, and then it does something. It is, as they call it, a flow. It really does feel a lot more like a flow, like this back and forth. Really nice dynamic. Okay, let's try to run that. I don't know if I have the command line installed. Yeah. Okay, the command didn't work, but it's telling me, I can just create this database right here. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. All right. All right. It's using NodeMon. That's super cool. Like there's a lot of really smart things that it's doing out of the box. Okay, yep, channels does not exist. Let me accept all these files. I wonder if that's a problem. Nope. Okay. Let's see when I get this error, if I can just highlight it and do anything with it. No. Okay. So it doesn't let me just add it to chat. That's a little feature in Cursor that I like. If you highlight something, then you can just press a button and ask the chat about it. I'm just going to paste this error. Not this error. Okay, we need to create the channel table. I thought we were doing that. I thought that's what ensure table was for. Well, let's go ahead and accept those changes. And okay, this time it looks like it restarted, and that worked well. Very nice. And hey, look at that. We actually see some database requests come through. Let's see, what's the table? The table is supposed to be called channels. Okay, take a look at that. We actually have this channels table. And we have a messages table as well. Excellent. I see. So it had created a table for one, but not the other. Very cool. Let's go ahead and try to send a message and see if that got stored. It did. That's pretty impressive. I mean, this has been a really smooth ride so far. Okay. Where are our environmental variables set up? Okay, it looks like it's just putting them right here. Let me ask it to move that. The fact that it creates the files automatically makes a bigger difference than I expected, for sure. Like it's just a lot more smooth. Because look at how many files I got here. It's like 6 files I would have had to apply, take a look, And I know that Cursor also has the composer, but every time I try to use it, it just has some issues with the context, and it'll write stuff like, write the rest of your code here. so then it, like, I never end up using it. I just end up using the sidebar. But in this case, it looks like it's just kind of working more consistently. Okay, got the process env. Cool, we got a git ignore. Yeah, that's great. Okay, .env. Let's see. Oh, that's a that's an example. So it's being also very thorough, which I like here. Let's go ahead and run that npm install. All right, got a bunch of files. We'll accept all of that. Just make sure that it still works. If I refresh this, yep, we still see our message. See a second message. Yeah, great. So our messages are getting saved. Let's go ahead and fix this UI layout thing real quick. Okay, this is a small thing, but again, I think it's very interesting and I like it. When I press Control P, it opens the file navigator, but it opens it in the middle of the screen instead of up top. And it feels like such a minor thing again, but it actually speeds things up because I'm already looking at the center of the screen. Okay, so I'm in chat area now. Let's see. Oh, looks like there are some issues here with the types. Let's see if we can just get that fixed. Like if I highlight this Windsurf, I can explain the problem or view the problem. Okay. Is there a way that I can just... Okay, so this is a one button click inspect. Okay, it's suggesting some changes. But I can't quite apply them from here. Wait, what happens if I insert? I guess the insert is kind of like the apply. But it did a very poor job of merging it here. Let me undo that. Let's just start a new chat and ask it to please fix the data type issues here. All right, there we go. Data types fixed. And again, I think I looked at multiple files without me having to tag them. I could get used to that. All right, where's my chat container here? Okay, looks like it should be width full, but it's not working. So let's see if I can highlight that. Okay, I'm just gonna open a new chat. Let's see if it's able to take screenshots as input. Okay, so I got that screenshot. Okay, it does not, as far as I can tell. I can't paste the screenshot. So that's one area where Cursor wins, I think, is being able to accept images and then be able to build based on that. So let me try to explain it in words then. Okay, I see the issue. Looks like it's all the way up in app TSX. Okay, here we go. I think that's probably it. This is interesting. You kind of see it talking to itself. So it really is doing a sort of agentic flow there where it's figuring out that it needs to do something, then it goes and does that thing, then it makes a different change. That's really cool to see. And here we go. Full width. Amazing. Now let's just go to a different channel. When I send a message to the random channel, it did not send it there. So I wonder what the issue is. Okay, let's see. I got this error. I'll just copy it. Okay, it's searching the code base. Okay, only one default channel is created. I see, so it's constraining it based on the channel IDs to make sure that all the messages are in a particular channel that we have tracked. Okay, let's just explore the files. Okay, basically if the channel doesn't exist, it's going to throw a 404 error. I mean, that's fine. That makes sense. We should also have some probably channel creation endpoint. Okay, let's add the ability to create new channels. Again, it's identifying the relevant files, and this all looks correct. Let's just accept all and see if there's, okay, well, there's a button. Okay, so it goes to my channel. It doesn't update the sidebar here, but if I send a message, then I can actually see it. Very cool. And I think I'll see it in the channels. Yep, there it is. So that's great. Now I can just continue to ask it to add a channel. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably sufficient to get an idea of what the editor is capable of. I'll be honest, I was really impressed by this. I did not have very high expectations going in because I've tried plenty of these different AI coding tools, and generally they just don't do a very good job. But and especially the agentic ones. But this one actually is pretty amazing. I mean, this was my first time using it, and it did a really good job iterating, identifying several files, having that agentic flow that actually worked. And it's running locally, so I'm not like bound to, the browser and some awkward file navigation like some other AI agent tools. I thought I'd show the pricing real quick. So it does have a free tier, which includes quite a lot of stuff in here. That's pretty nice. For $10 a month, you get the full version of Cascade, which is essentially the sidebar where you do a lot of the coding. So on the surface, it looks to be a little bit cheaper than Cursor, which is $20 a month. Cursor does have unlimited slow requests, which is pretty nice. I'm not sure what happens when you reach the 1,000 steps or whatever those are with Cascade, but I guess we'll see. I'm really impressed. I'm going to try it out for a longer period of time. I'm going to try it on some bigger projects, and we'll see if it stands up, to the test of time. So if you're starting to use AI in your coding, definitely check this out, but also check out Cursor, which I would say is kind of the top of the line up to this point. Although I do think that Windsurf is a contender for that top spot. Let me know in the comments if you've tried Windsurf and how you think it compares to Cursor, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.